Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the podcast dedicated to your pickleball improvement. Hope you're doing well out there. This is a special episode of the podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about physical injury. I'm going to share with you a personal story. Then we're going to talk about some concepts involving taking care of our body and preventing or reducing the chance that we're going to get injured, potentially get injured in the future. As we get into the podcast, I want to let you know that one of the most important things that you can do to take care of your body is wear the right shoes that are designed for the sport. Listen, if you're wearing tennis shoes, racquetball shoes, something like that, a shoe that's designed for lateral movement, that's probably going to be fine. But if you're not sure whether the shoes you're wearing are right for the sport you're playing, we wear a shoe that's designed specifically for pickleball. It's a company that only makes pickleball shoes. They're all in on pickleball. It's the Tyrol shoe, and we're big fans of it. So if you want to check out Tyrol shoes, you can use the code BP, as in Better Pickleball, BP10 at checkout. So check those out at Tyrol, and you can always go to betterpickleball.com and click on the resources tab, and you'll see everything that we use. If it's on there, it's something that we use or have used and can vet, right? Can say we stand behind that. So Tyrol is a company that we are really happy to be associated with. All right, let me tell you my story, and then we can go from there. So I have been boxing for a little bit now, right? For like 3 weeks or so, and I went to near my house. They had a class that you could join and check it out, and I had done it a little bit before, just executive boxing, like against the bag, and more for actually all for conditioning. I'm not currently planning on getting into the ring and getting my bell rung or ringing anybody's bell, but for exercise and do something different and focus and things like that. And I've found a lot of benefit in boxing. I enjoy the activity. I enjoy the mental part of it, the focus, and I'm learning something new. So that's always fun. But I went in on whatever day it was a few days ago, and I have the straps that go around my hands so I can punch a little bit harder. I have gloves so I can punch a little bit harder. And I got a little carried away and doing some of the some hooks, which are it's not a motion that I'm used to doing, right? It's something new for me, and we're going to talk about that in a second because that's really important to understand whenever you're getting into some activity or learning some new way of doing something. So I was doing hooks, and I was going hard at the bag, and I started feeling a little bit sore afterwards, but I didn't think much of it. And then on Friday morning, I was going to go play pickleball with some friends, and we needed some footage for a video. So CJ asked me to film some footage on some serves. And so I hadn't warmed up yet. It was 7 in the morning. We were playing at 7:30, and I started doing these serves. And then I did a kind of a crazy serve as a B-roll for one of the things. And I was like, oh, man, that hurt. So now I have an injured shoulder. Good news is my right shoulder. Left shoulder is pretty good, but the right shoulder is kind of a little bit out of whack. So now I got to go into, taking care of it, rest it, things like that. So let's talk about, it made me think about injury, right? I'm doing a new activity, new movements, new techniques that I'm not used to, using muscles that I haven't probably used in that way in a long time. Not probably, I know I haven't used them that way in a long time. So it got me thinking about injury, and I know that you all reach out about injuries that you've sustained from time to time. And so I thought, well, let's talk about injury and kind of what can happen to us as pickleball players that causes us to suffer injury, and then maybe some ways that we can avoid that. So one area that's really common where you see injuries is when we're using muscles that we don't regularly use. So let's say you don't come from a racket sports background or a paddle sports background, and you're playing pickleball 6 days a week, right? You have the muscles you're using muscles in ways that you probably have never used them. And so, you're going to put a tax on those muscles if you're going to be playing all the time. And you're using small muscles. The forearm muscles, even though our forearms don't look that small, relatively speaking, relative to other muscles in our body, like our thigh muscles, our shoulder muscles, our biceps and triceps, our forearm muscles are pretty small. So if you're not used to a racket sport, and all of a sudden you're just, going out there and banging balls around for, 2, 3, 4 hours at a time, that is going to put a toll on your arms and on your muscles. So just be aware of that. Same thing with your legs. If you're not used to lateral movement, for instance, who moves laterally around their house? Nobody does. And so you're on a pickleball court, all of a sudden you're having to move laterally, shuffle, step, step, get your balance, things like that. That can put a lot of a lot of wear and tear on your muscles, but also on your joints, right? On your knees, on your ankles, on your hips. And so, understand that that's a possibility. Related to that is, if you have issues with your technique, right? So say that you're really swinging that paddle around. That paddle's flying all over the place when you're playing. You are probably putting extra torque, extra burden on your muscles, just like I did in boxing, right? So in boxing, a hook is a punch where you take your elbow and you flare it out to the side, and then you come from the side into the back. Puts a lot of burden on your shoulder because you're coming at it from a really kind of a weak shoulder position compared to like a normal punch where you just punch straight away. The shoulder's more, it's more protected there. And so a hook is a technique that I haven't mastered yet. I'm using, it's both of them, right? It's a double whammy. I'm using muscles that I haven't used in that way, bringing like a roundhouse around with my fist. And, I'm probably not that versed in the technique yet, right? In terms of bracing my shoulder as I make contact with the bag. So those two things combined resulted in me now being sidelined from boxing for a couple of weeks. Fortunately, I guess, in timing wise, Jill and I are going to be out of town for a week. So, it's not going to affect my training that much, but nonetheless, my shoulder, my shoulders are being impacted by straining muscles that I haven't used plus improper technique. So if you're feeling pain in any part of your body, ask yourself, is this a muscle or an area that I haven't really used that much? And maybe that's part of it. And then secondly, maybe I need to check my technique. You can video yourself. I've recommended to several folks who've reached out about mostly it's shoulder and elbow injury pain that they're having, to film themselves and take it to their local, physical therapist or their physician, healthcare provider who's local, who can watch and take your paddle with you, right? Go see them, show them the video of what you're doing, simulate the motion with them, and they may have an idea as to how that's impacting your elbow, your wrist, your shoulder, or even your legs or your ankles and knees on your footwork. So that's a good technique to kind of figure that out. So let's talk about a few things that you can do to minimize the chances of injury. Number one, and it's patently obvious, right? But I know we don't do it enough. And frankly, I was guilty of it on Friday, right? When I went in, even though I wasn't playing yet, I was using my body aggressively without having warmed it up. So the first thing you got to do is just take a few minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes, warm your body up. And that literally means, I know we use the term warm up all the time, but that's literally what you're doing, is you're bringing your muscles up to temperature, right? Just bringing them up to like a temperature that they're more pliable, they're more ready to do what you want them to do. A sign of being warmed up is just a slight sweat. You don't have to be like dripping, but you have a light little sheen on your skin. That means that your body is warmed up, and you're probably gonna you're better ready to do what you want to do physically, and you're reducing the chances that you're going to have a potential injury. And then the second thing is listen to your body. Listen to small things. Don't wait until you're sidelined. If you're playing and all of a sudden something doesn't feel right, that's your body saying, hey, maybe you got to check yourself on that. And so maybe stop doing that thing that you're doing, right? Whether it's using your wrist to hit, to swing the paddle, or the way you're moving, whatever it is, check yourself on that and listen to your body sooner rather than later before you get injured. And then the last thing is, it really behooves us to spend some time strengthening those parts of your, strengthening those parts of your body that you want to use to play pickleball, right? That you want to use to move around the court, that you want to use to swing the paddle. Spending some time off court, strengthening them, stretching them, working them, right? Getting them ready to do the job is going to pay dividends, because you reduce the chance of injury. But the other thing too is you're going to play better, right? You're going to be in better shape in terms of your paddle movement, your physical movement of your body with your feet and your legs. And so spend some time off court. Strengthening is a really way to do it. If you're a member of the Pickleball system, you have an athletic pillar that includes a lot of good information in there that you can use, that's pickleball specific, that you can use to get your body in a better shape. If you're not a member of the Pickleball system, or even if you're a member of the Pickleball system and you just want something very focused for the next 8 weeks, and you can do it longer, but it's an 8-week challenge. There's an 8-week challenge that we have. You can go to Better Pickleball, look at the classes, find CJ's 8-week challenge in there. It's all very pickleball specific. I can tell you that the members of our team who have been doing a team challenge with that have really benefited from the course. I think they were pleasantly surprised at how, in a good way, how challenging it was for them, right? How it made them work differently than what they've used to been doing. And these are folks who regularly do other things, whether it's Pilates and things like that. But this program is designed around pickleball. So check that out, and it might be a good resource for you. If you're not in the system and don't want to do the 8-week challenge, you can always surf YouTube and find some stuff that might help you out. But key is this: try and do something, right? Even if it's 2 minutes a day, that's fine. I heard a content creator who was talking about push-ups, and it was interesting the way he talked about it, because he was saying, like if you do, and I'm not telling you to do push-ups, right? But just the idea that if you did 10 push-ups, right, you would think 10 push-ups. What's the point of that, right? But then he's like, well, let's say you do 10 push-ups today and 10 push-ups tomorrow and 10 push-ups the next day. At the end of the year, you've done 3,600 roughly push-ups, right? That's a lot of push-ups, better than zero. And so think about that in terms of your body. Maybe it's squat 10 times. Stand up and down. Stand up and sit down from a chair 10 times. Okay, better than doing nothing in terms of getting your body ready. And the more you strengthen your body and get it ready, the more resistant it is to injuries. And so that's the advice, and that's coming from the heart for me this week, because I am currently, like I said, a little bit injured, and look forward to recovering my shoulder completely over the next week or so, hopefully, or a couple of weeks, even though these injuries can last a little bit longer. But a little what the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, definitely applies to our pickleball. Let's make sure that we protect our bodies so that we can play pickleball as long as we want to, and play as frequently and as many hours as possible by protecting our body on the front end. Before we go, I'd be remiss not to mention that we have our upcoming Win More Series workshop in March. If you're on our email list, you've probably received a notification by the time this episode goes live. But if you're on the email list, you're going to get invited to the workshop. It's a really good opportunity for you to learn more about pickleball, about how to win more games, certainly, and also about the pickleball system, so that if you're interested in taking that big next step in your pickleball journey, you can join CJ and me inside the pickleball system. As always, if you enjoyed this week's podcast, please share it with your friends. Remember, if you enjoyed the podcast, they probably will too. Particularly if you have a friend who's going through an injury, this podcast might make them feel a little bit better about theirs, knowing that I myself have one too. Have a great week, and we'll see you for our regular podcast this Friday.